I'm Carol MacDonald. I grew up in Bedford, New York, which is about 40 miles north of New York City. And after going to the Maryland Institute of Art, I moved to Vermont in 1974. I had a good friend who hired me as the art director of a small weekly newspaper in Johnson, Vermont. And I was looking for a place that I could earn a wage and also start developing my own artwork and see if I could make a living as an artist. So one of the things that I love about printmaking is that it combines both mark making and drawing with other physical processes of transferring from one surface to another. One of the things about knitting to print is that certain fibers print better than others. So I have to be sort of careful about what I'm using and think about that. I had first learned to knit by my mother taught me how to knit, and she had been taught by her grandmother. So when I was a little kid, they had me knitting very early on. And I loved it. I loved the process of it. I loved the texture, the feel of the yarn, the colors. Turned out, I mean, I'm a pretty good knitter. I'm not a great knitter. And so I was often tearing things out and re-knitting, and that whole idea of, you know, making mistakes, tearing out, being able to re-knit seemed very indicative to me of life. So I did have the idea at some point, oh, I could print this, and ran some tests, and then it took me a couple of years to figure out why I wanted to do that. I really got in touch with this whole idea of, you know, hands-on process and these processes that bring us back into ourselves. Plus, you know, working with this beautiful fibers and the whole feminist piece of this craft that has been passed down mostly through the matriarchal line, although there now are quite a few men getting into the action as well. So it's just, it's really has opened up a lot of territory for me to work with. I think a lot about connections and making connections both personally and universally. And at this point, I'm working a lot in imagery that's based in the process of knitting, thinking about patterns, how patterns affect us, thinking about processes, hands-on processes that sort of bring us back into our soul, and that really make that interconnection within. Because I do feel like there's so many distractions with technology and the busyness of life that I'm really interested in, you know, what are those ways that we can come back into ourselves? So I often will knit a piece of fabric and then I'll ink a plate, put the fabric down on the plate and run it through my press. That way I get ink on the knitting itself, which I can then print directly onto a piece. And I also get the impression of the repetitious fabric in the ink on the plate, and so I can work with that. So directly, I can print from the knitting and get that repetition and pattern and use that in different ways. One of the keys for me when I started was, it was the time of the Women's Caucus for Art, and we had a very active chapter in Vermont. We used to meet every month, and we did shows together. We really came together as women, you know, in the face of a lot of oppression of women in the arts. I mean, that has, I think, lessened some, but it's still there. But having that support as a young artist to like work with my ideas and have other artists to talk with and meet with and think with was incredibly life-changing for me. I don't know that without that, I would be where I am today. I think when I first started out, I had this grand vision of being an artist and being in major galleries, and art sort of has a superstar system, and I mean, I have shown all over the place, and have quite a few galleries that I'm working with, and I'm really happy with that, with the exposure that I've gotten. I think we always sort of want the next level, and maybe that'll happen and maybe not. But what I have discovered is that I have a really rich art life. I'm making my own art. I'm really working with my own ideas. I'm teaching, so I'm working with other people. And I always find that in that relationship that I think I get as much out of teaching as students do, or people that I'm working with. And the other piece of that is, I've also been able to work in the community, which has been really important to me throughout my career. I was very involved with the Women's Caucus for Art. I helped to start Arts Alive, Festival of Fine Arts. Now I'm working with Frog Hollow. So that has also been a piece that's been important to me to maintain ties and create things in community that support other artists and myself, and I think really enriches life as an artist, so that it goes beyond just yourself. Sort of the rhythms and the life that I've been able to build, being on this piece of land and being able to be with nature and being able to get up in the morning and come out to this amazing studio and work, is endlessly satisfying to me. My happiest times are when I'm in here creating. Let's say that.